Hey everyone, welcome back to SG Car Mart Review. So today we're driving the new MG4. So it's important to note that this isn't technically the first all-electric MG here in Singapore. However, this is the first car that is built on a dedicated EV platform. So you could say that mechanically this is a recipe for future MG models. So let's go take a closer look at this MG4. Now, before we carry on with the review, if you are thinking of trading in your car for this MG4, why not try selling your car with Coates instead? Coates helps you sell your car quickly and easily. With the new Coates doorstep, get a professional inspection by our certified mechanics at your convenience anywhere on the island. Coates will then auction out your car online to its wide network of dealers to bid on your car. Once bidding is complete, Coates will update you with their best offer price at no obligation. It's that easy. To find out more, visit coates.com.sg. That's QUOTZ.com.sg. Now, back to the review. The MG4 EV is priced at $82,888 without COE. The single electric motor produces 201 brake horsepower and 250 Nm of torque. The single-speed transmission brings the car from 0 to 100 km/h in 7.9 seconds. The battery capacity of the MG4 EV is 64 kWh with a drive range of 450 km. For more details on the MG4 EV or any other car, head on to sgcarmart.com to help you make the smart choice on your next car. Now, let's first address what this car is. So this is an electric hatchback. Although, looking at it, you might think it's one of those crossover things because the way it's designed from the front, from the side, it kinda is one of those in-between models, right? It's kinda a hatchback, kinda a crossover, but let's call it a hatchback. So in terms of how it looks, design-wise, it is a very bold exterior look, right? It's very sharp, it's very angular, quite sporty in that sense. And I must say, when I first saw pictures of this car and even looking at it now, it actually reminds me a little bit of the Supra. Is it a good-looking car? I'm not particularly convinced that it is. I think it's very busy. There are a lot of design elements, right? All your lights here, I don't know what these things actually are. And it's quite a busy overall design. It's a little bit of a scoop here. And I think the thing that bugs me the most is the fact that the nose very sharply tapers down and it makes for a slightly awkward looking car. So I don't know, I don't think it's particularly good looking, but again, taste is subjective, right? I will say though that it is very distinctive and it's hard to miss on the road. However, there is an important reason why it looks the way it looks, and that is aerodynamics. With every EV, your biggest enemy is drag, and of course you want to cut through the air as cleanly as possible. Less drag means more efficiency, and that's key with an EV. So maybe not the prettiest looking car, but it works, right? Aerodynamics. Now let's go check out the back. Now again, at the back, it's a bit more of the same story. It's quite a busy rear end, right? So we have what they call a twin aero rear spoiler here. We have this little additional spoiler bit sticking out. Again, it's all about aerodynamics. It looks like that because it wants to be cutting through the air as cleanly as possible. So take it for what it is. Now, boot space, quite a heavy boot here. 398 liters, fairly standard for a hatchback, and it will fit one big luggage, and the RT trolley will not pass the length test, but you know, most hatchbacks won't. So no real complaints here. I think it's a usable boot space. Now let's go jump inside the car and see what it looks like inside. Now here in the rear of the MG4, first off, I must say space-wise, it's quite good actually. So considering this is essentially a Golf-sized car, there's actually a little bit more space than you expect from a car in this segment, right? So you can tell legroom is quite good. You know, I've got quite a good amount of headroom. I'm 1.7. And I guess you can really put this down to the fact that this is a dedicated EV platform, so you can maximize space because you know you can do it with all your petrol bits. And yeah, as a result, I think it's quite a comfortable space here in the cabin. It is quite a simple space, you know, in terms of equipment, don't really have that much. So we have some pockets here. We have two pockets for phones on either seat, and we have a USB-A port. We also have ISOFIX points here hidden under this Velcro bit. But other than that, you know, simple, functional rear cabin. Now, if I slide on over to the middle, we have an almost flat floor. However, there's quite a good amount of space here, so you can just tuck your feet in. And I must say the middle seat is kind of what you expect from a hatchback, right? So it's a little bit on the narrow side. as with most hatchbacks. And is it uncomfortable? No, it's a little bit raised, but I think still very comfortable. And you know, definitely for short journeys, 3 adults, no problem. For slightly longer journeys, yeah, you're gonna be stuck here for a little while, but you know, I think it does its job. Now let's go jump in the front and see what's what. Okay, so first thing, interesting thing about turning on this car, close the door, foot on the brake, ready. So there's no actual start-stop button, so it's one of the things where, you know, it takes you on the seat, put your feet on the brake, drive and go. So I think that's, again, an EV thing, right? Now, as far as how the cabin here feels, in terms of equipment, I must say it's actually pretty well equipped. So we have a 10.25-inch infotainment screen with all your necessary functions, right? So your audio, your maps, stuff like that. This does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. One gripe I have is that I think some of the buttons here on the screen are quite small. So you kind of need to be a little bit more sort of careful about pressing stuff. Now, other than that, we have another screen here. We have a wireless charging pad. You know, quite an up-to-date interior. Now, one thing to note, the steering wheel controls take a little bit of learning. So if you look here, we only just have up, down, left, right on either side, and there's no real indication on what it controls, right? So for example, the right side in its normal setting is for volume. Yes, that's right, volume, and then left, right is track. And then on the left, your up, down would be controlling your cruise control speed, and then your right, left controlling the distance with the car in front. However, if you want to change your views here, you know, to see other stuff, you hit one button here, and then you use this to control this. So it's not super clear at the beginning. You need to take a little bit of time to learn, but I think once you do, it should be fairly easy to access. Now, other than that, of course, this is a very functional interior, so you have plenty of storage space here, 2 cup holders, nice big little cubby hole here, and a net to put, I don't know, your phone, stuff. What would I change about this interior? Probably a bit more color, a bit more pop in terms of vibrancy, because right now it's all very sort of monotone, right? So we only have a little bit of contrast stitching here, but other than that, it's pretty much black throughout. But you know, it is a functional, very usable interior. Now let's go drive this car and see how it feels on the road. So with this MG4, you're gonna have 201 brake horsepower and 250 Newton meters of torque, which actually makes for quite a brisk driving experience. So, you know, this being an EV, right, obviously you have all that instantaneous torque, and I think the pickup is good, it's quite smooth, and overall it's plenty of power for day-to-day use. Now, interesting enough, this car actually sends all that power to the rear wheels, which is quite unique, right? You don't typically find rear-wheel drive cars in this segment. And I do think that actually adds to the overall sense of agility with this car. You know, I must say I'm actually quite surprised. Like, I would hesitate to call it sporty, but it's much closer to sporty than you might perhaps imagine with a car like this. And I must say it's quite impressive, right? It drives well, it handles itself well through corners. This probably also helped by the fact that, you know, this being an EV, you have batteries low in the ground, so that helps to lower the CG as well. And yeah, I must say I'm surprised by how this car handles. Now, in terms of overall comfort, now we're going along on the highway at what, 60 km/h, and it's comfortable, right? It's a nice, smooth riding car, not too much body roll, not too much sort of up and down movement, and overall I think it's a very comfortable and usable car. Now, in terms of efficiency, MG quotes 450 km on a full charge. Right now, we have 91% battery left and 370 km of range. So do some quick math, that gets us up to just a bit over 400 km. And I think that's very reasonable considering the fact that we've been stationary for quite a bit. We've been doing a bit of low speed driving because we are filming, right? So can you do 450? I think you can. I think that's a believable number if you drive efficiently, drive in eco mode. You know, I'm just in normal, I've been just leaving the car as it is. And so I think that's a believable figure. Now, one thing interesting about this car as well is the fact that you can actually charge it at up to 150 kilowatt with DC charging. And that's actually quite good for, again, some car in this segment. So that actually is able to bring this car from 0 to 80 in just about 30 minutes if I'm not wrong. So I think that's quite impressive. One thing I will have to say is that we actually have 4 regenerative braking settings, so low, medium, high as well as adaptive. And even in the higher setting, it's not very strong. So I am now on the maximum setting. If I take my foot off the throttle, it doesn't slow down that much, so you probably can't one pedal this car. Some people like that, some people don't. I personally like the one pedal drive feeling, but I think it's worth noting that in this car you probably are not going to be able to do that, so you do have to use the brakes as well. This car also comes with quite a comprehensive set of driver safety and assistance systems, right? So we have things like lane keep, we have adaptive cruise control, you even have something called traffic jam assist, lane change assist. So let's test it out. So it's just one button press here. So I've turned it on. Yeah, it works. It's keeping me in the middle of the lane. It's keeping my set speed because there's no car in front of me. And I mean, what can I say? It works, right? And I think that's good to know. Good to have one of those things where I personally find very useful for especially driving on highways during peak periods. I personally would always have these things on just because it's frustrating to drive in jams, right? Or in slow moving traffic or start-stop traffic. And this can just do that for you. It even brings you to a complete stop, so that's pretty cool. And interestingly, if you can see the screen here, it's a little bit like what you might find at Tesla, where it actually shows you the vehicles on your right and left and the lane marking, stuff like that. It can actually even identify motorbikes, so that's pretty cool. So the new MG4, is it a will buy, won't buy, or go try? I think this is a go try. So as far as this being an electric hatchback, I think it's a very compelling and very capable offering, right? It's comfortable, practical, easy to use. I think the range is actually quite good for a car in this class. And it drives quite nicely in terms of equipment, especially on the driver safety and assistance front. It's actually quite comprehensive. So I think you get quite a lot of car, right? I think it's quite a well done car. I think it ticks a lot of the necessary boxes as far as an electric hatchback is concerned. So I think it's also important to put this car in context, I think specifically price context. So in this current configuration with 201 brake horsepower, this car is a Cat B car, and that means that with where COE prices are now, Cat B is over 100,000, this car is going to set you back close to 190,000. And if we're being very honest, that's a lot of money, right? And for $190,000, there are a lot of other options available to the typical buyer. Are they necessarily equivalent options? Perhaps not. Maybe there aren't that many other electric hatchbacks in this particular segment. However, let's be real, right? For buyers who are shopping in this particular segment, I think they're considering everything. They're considering sedans, hatches, crossovers, electric, hybrid, petrol, everything. And there are just many, many options available. There are Cat A options, obviously. There are also other Cat B options. And I think as a result, you have to go try this car and figure out if this is the kind of car for you. Because obviously, if you wanted sort of more space, more ride height, then this perhaps not for you. But if you wanted a very capable electric hatchback that looks interesting, let's call it interesting, distinctive, and I think fundamentally this is a very capable electric hatchback. It does a lot of the necessary things it needs to do. Then yeah, I think this MG4 is definitely worth a try. Alright, so thanks for watching our review of the new MG4. Do remember to like, share and subscribe to our channel. Those of you watching who are not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will be alerted of all our upcoming videos. And to see more content, check us out on TikTok as well. We are at SG Carmart. So that's all I have for you today. I'll see you soon. Bye. I'm not... Shut up, bike. Actually, I would say it's quite noisy because there's another aeroplane. This car is going to set you back somewhere in the range of the high 180s to 100 and I cannot concentrate.
Just focus on
Yes. How? That sounded